Module 3: The Practice of Language Assessment. Building quality systems for language assessment. When we say that any product or a service is good quality, we generally mean that it consistently lives up to what we expect. For many people, a good quality car is safe and comfortable and always starts when we want it to. A good quality hotel has clean, quiet, and comfortable rooms with equipment that works well and staff who respond promptly and politely when we have a request. When thinking about buying a new product or using a new service, people often want to find out something about its quality. They may read reviews on websites or in magazines or ask their friends about it, or they may try using for a short period of to find out if they like it. The expectations people have of any service or product will depend partly on their needs. People look for different things in a hotel depending on whether they will stay there alone, on a business trip for one night, or with their family on vacation for a week. Expectations are also affected by factors such as price. People don't expect five-star luxury in a cheap hotel, and they don't expect a small cheap car to go very fast or to be as smooth and comfortable as limousine. Similarly, it would be unrealistic to expect teachers working under strict time pressures to produce assessment with the same qualities that are demanded of tests made by large national or international testing agencies. Equally, large testing agencies can't be expected to produce assessment that take into account what an individual teacher has chosen to cover in class over the past few weeks. But what expectation should assessors, on the one hand, or users of assessment results, on the other, have of different types of assessment? And as producers of assessment, what can we do to ensure that the assessments we make are as good as they can be, that they are high quality? According to White, that was 1998, ideas about quality borrowed from business management had become increasingly influential in language education. Two concepts of particular importance to language assessments are standards and quality management. Standards describe desirable characteristics of products and services such as consistency, environmental friendliness, safety, and economy. When products or systems work well and safely at an economical cost, it is often because they meet predetermined standards. Quality management is a means of achieving and surpassing standards and involves continuous improvement in the effectiveness and efficiency of an organization and the process it carries out. Putting quality into practice in language assessment. Projects to develop a new assessment, especially at the classroom or program level, are often seen by those involved as one-off linear exercises with clear-cut beginning and end points. It is decided that an assessment is needed. The content is settled on, procedures are sketched out, and the questions or items are written. Or perhaps a test is bought in from a publisher or other external organization. The assessment is administered to a group of learners. Scores are awarded, decisions are taken, and certificates are handed out. The work is complete. Sometimes an assessment is used once and then discarded. The next time everyone starts again from the beginning. Sometimes, the same assessment is used again, unchanged. Effective assessments comes at a price. Not every institution has the resources to employ the full array of trained language assessment professionals listed by BAC 2009, including specialist assessments, writers, psychometricians, and graphic designers. Nonetheless, all institutions certainly do have the capacity to improve on their current practice. Fortunately, acknowledging a few basic principles can help to develop assessment literacy and improve the quality of practice. Planning, reflection, and improvement. The first three price principles, planning, reflection, and improvement, suggest a regular plan, do review schedule in which current assessments are evaluated, and ideas for improvements put forward for integration within the plans for the next time the assessment will be used. These principles do not only apply to locally developed material. Assessments that have worked well in one location with one group of learners may not work equally well in another. Material that is bought in from publishers or external agencies should be subject to the same process of critical reviews as locally developed material. The checklist provided in the next three chapters are intended to help in this process. The last two of the price principles, cooperation and evidence, are the conditions required to make planning, reflection, and improvement effective. Cooperation. One cause of poor assessment practices is a mistaken belief that individual expertise or experience can guarantee quality. An experienced teacher is trusted to produce and carry out assessment in a better way than a novice. An expert in assessment is assumed to produce better material than a teacher with no specialist training. This may seem reasonable, but even assessment materials produced by the most skilled, best trained individuals have faults and idiosyncrasies. Where 1993 stressed the point that developing assessment should be a group activity. Individuals acting alone are very unlikely to be able to plan, design, and put into practice a really effective assessment system. In fact, teamwork of various kinds is essential to good assessment. First, it is important at the planning stage to agree on standards that the team will work towards. If individual teachers or testers each use very different approaches either in creating assessment or in judging performance, learning can become a disjointed and confusing experience. Davidson and Lynch argued that good assessment are developed by consensus rather than by imposition. When people combine their efforts and everyone involved has a say in the development of an assessment system, there is much better chance that it will run successfully and that problems will be minimized. If teachers are able to work together to contribute to a shared collection or bank of assessment material, the system can become more efficient as well as more coherent and effective. Collecting evidence. A very widespread shortcoming in much assessment practice is, paradoxically, that the assessment itself often goes unexamined. It is surprisingly rare for assessment users to attempt in any systematic way to find out whether the decisions taken based on assessment results were the right decisions. Precautions may be taken to to guard against obvious disasters. Questions that are all too difficult for the students, test papers getting lost or stolen, recorder equipment breaking down, but few people or institutions seriously try to answer the important questions of whether the assessment has really provided information that is comprehensive and useful as it could be, and whether things might be done better next time. Evidence is also important at the planning stage, informing the initial design of an assessment. Proficiency assessment should be planned on the basis of evidence about how assessors may need to use the language in the world beyond the test. In assessing achievement, if evidence is needed about what learners have been studying. As another vital source of evidence, every language assessment handbook insists that material must be tried out or trailed in some way, particularly if it is to be used in high stakes assessment, one that leads to decisions with serious consequences for the assessee. The assessment cycle. When improvement is sought, assessment and assessment systems should not be seen just as products or as events or even as a series of linked events that lead to decision about assessing. Instead, assessment should be viewed as continuous and repeating cycles of activities. The process does not end when a decision about assessee is made, but can be modified and improved before the cycle begins again. Within the over cycle, it is useful to identify a sequence of activities, each associated with particular function or role. Each role may be carried out by different person or group of people, and some may even be carried out automatically by machines. On the other hand, one person or group may carry out several roles in large-scale assessment programs. Each activity will involve detailed documentation so that different groups of individuals can coordinate their contributions. Specification. The key document that communicates standards and guides how an assessment is to be produced, administered, and replicated is known as the specification. This specification set out the plan for collecting observable evidence that will inform judgment about how much knowledge, skills, or abilities a learner has connecting theoretical understanding of language with the decision that he will make about the assess. Specification typically include three elements: a design statement, an assessment blueprint, and task specification. The design statement, when considering the design of a new assessment or of an approach to assessment, which a school curriculum, it is important for those involved to begin by considering, discussing, and collectively answering some fundamental questions. Large-scale assessment programs will document the answers to questions such as these in the form of what Bachman and Palmer called a design statement and Fulcher and Davidson called a statement of test purpose. The design statements usually comes at the beginning of the specification and sets out the design's understanding of the purpose of the assessment, the decision to be made, stakeholders affected by the decision, and individuals responsible for making the decisions. Blueprints. Just as builders need detailed plans or blueprints in order to construct a building, so those involved in preparing an assessment need more than a design statement if they are going to produce material that matches what the designer intended. Assessment blueprints include their statements about what content is to be covered, what methods are to be used, how many papers or sections there are, and how long the test takes, and so on.